Hey guys, it's your Doc Farhan. In this video, I want to discuss the top 3 questions that you can ask yourself right now to determine if you are getting enough sleep every night. So I'm going to get into these 3 questions very soon. But just carrying on from yesterday's video, I want to explain to you what a caffeine crash is. A lot of you guys have experienced this. In yesterday's video, I talked about caffeine. I talked about how there's this neurotransmitter called adenosine. It is something that is transmitted in the brain, and it tells your brain, it tells your body that you need to go to sleep. So when you wake up in the morning, adenosine is very low, and as you go throughout the day, adenosine becomes higher and higher and higher. And these adenosine receptors are receiving adenosine to actually trigger this feeling in you. However, caffeine blocks and inactivates these adenosine receptors by binding to them, and adenosine is no longer able to bind. So that is what's happening when caffeine is used. So today I'm going to explain to you what is a caffeine crash, and then we're going to get into these questions to ask yourself if you're getting enough sleep or not. Okay, so basically we have here caffeine crash, okay? The first step is what happens before you take caffeine. I just talked about that. It's what happens in your brain with adenosine. Here's a neuron. And here are certain adenosine receptors in the brain. And all adenosine does is bind to these neurons, the actual channels, the receptors on the neuron. Step 2 is when you drink caffeine, or when you drink coffee that has caffeine in it, you drink tea, maybe you take a caffeine tablet. The adenosine accumulates in the synaptic cleft outside the neuron. It's accumulating because caffeine is now binding to these receptors. Okay, and then step 3, right here, basically what happens is the caffeine is no longer in these receptors because there's a half-life of caffeine. Caffeine will eventually degrade. There's an enzyme in the liver that clears out caffeine. Some of you guys have a lot of this. The effectiveness of this enzyme is very high, so you can have an espresso for dinner and still go to sleep at midnight or 11 p.m. But some of you, the liver enzyme is not as effective. So if you take that espresso for dinner, you won't be able to go to sleep. And some of you, even if you take caffeine at, let's say, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., you may not be able to go to sleep because it takes a long time for this liver enzyme to clear out the caffeine from these receptors. Okay, now what happens for step 3 is the caffeine is gone, but all this adenosine is still there accumulating in this synaptic cleft. So now it rushes to get to the neuron. And because of this saturation of adenosine on the receptors, you get this thing called a caffeine crash. And you feel like you need to go to sleep really right away. You need to go to sleep right away. Now, what's interesting here is that you're going to have to take caffeine again if you don't want to go to sleep. There's no real other way. And that is why people become addicted to caffeine. That is why you need more and more caffeine every single time you get this caffeine crash. Okay, now let's get to the 3 questions, the sexy part of this video. Okay, so, by the way, this is also why you need 8 hours of sleep, okay? Because you're gonna need around 8 to 9 hours to actually clear out the adenosine so your brain doesn't get this signal to go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. All right, so now the 3 questions. Are you getting enough sleep? Number 1, the sleep test. Around 10 a.m., let's say you wake up at 7 a.m., 8 a.m. 2-3 hours from that moment, can you go to sleep again? If you can, you didn't sleep enough. Second, do you need caffeine before noon? If yes, you are not getting enough sleep. And the third is if you didn't have an alarm clock, okay? Let's say you didn't set an alarm clock. Would you still wake up at the time you woke up? If the answer is no, then you didn't get enough sleep. Okay, these are the simple 3 questions you can ask yourself to determine if you got enough sleep. And guys, please, I'm begging you, get your sleep every night. Without sleep, you won't be able to build testosterone. memory, learning, emotional regulation. I mean, there's your gut balancing, your microbiome, your leptin ghrelin hormones to make sure you don't crave sugary foods all the time. There's all these things. Mental disorders, things like Alzheimer's disease, all of these things have to do with sleep. If you didn't watch my last few videos, they're about sleep. So go watch those. I cover all these topics in those videos. And that's it for this video today. Just want to say, hit the like button, comment, are you getting enough sleep? You ask yourself these 3 questions. Tell me, what are your answers? I would love to know, and I'll reply and communicate with you. Let's interact. All right, and subscribe to the channel so you can get future notifications. Tell your friends and family, and come and learn about sleep. All right, guys, this is your Doc Farhan. I'm gonna go to sleep now. Bye-bye.